A couple of weeks ago, it was the hamstring. This week, it's the knee. Lamar Jackson didn't practice on Wednesday. Did he practice on Thursday? Find out in 30 seconds. Let me get through the rest of these teases. One of which is the fact that we are playing the final international game for the 2025 season on NFL Network in Madrid. Commanders Dolphins. We'll check in with our guy Cam Wolf, who is over there with the latest on both teams. And it's Thursday. That means Michael F. Florio going to tell you who to start and who to sit in fantasy football for this entire weekend in the NFL. Stay tuned for that. You want answers? I want answers. Florio going to provide them. Welcome inside with the insiders and a little bit of outside. Judy Batista up there in Foxborough. She's going to talk about tonight's Thursday night football game between the Patriots and the Jets. That's coming up in a bit. Ian Rappaport, he's inside. He was joking with Judy. It's very comfortable inside his house right now. Yes. I can say the same as well. And there is comfort in Owings Mills by the fact that Lamar Jackson was a full participant in practice on Thursday. John Harbaugh had said on Wednesday they expected him back to work. They got that, and not just in a limited capacity. Full go. So great sign for Jackson ahead of Sunday. Meanwhile, not a great sign for C.J. Stroud. Ruled out for Sunday's game against the Titans. He's going to miss a second straight game after this hit a couple of weeks ago against the Broncos. So Davis Mills going to be the guy for Houston once again, this time in Tennessee. Judy.
Good news for the Chicago Bears as they get ready for a very big game against the Vikings receivers Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. Both practiced today. They were listed as limited, but they are certainly trending in the right direction toward playing. Odunze has an ankle injury. Moore has a shoulder, among other things. Again, listed as limited, but that seems to be the Bears trying to manage their workload more than anything, Ian.
If you're someone who has been waiting for Brandon Ayuk to burst onto the scene for the 49ers, coming back from an ACL plus injury and save them late in the season, you are still waiting. So are the 49ers. John Lynch talking to local radio today, saying the team needs to be comfortable enough to bring Ayuk back. And he would not for the first time say, yes, he believes it's going to be this season. I think they hope it is going to be this season, Mike. But there are, in the words of John Lynch, no guarantees. So very possible we do not see Ayuk at all this year for a 49ers team that has battled so many injuries.
Yep, we shall see. We won't see these gentlemen on the field tonight for Thursday Night Football. Garrett Wilson could miss a couple of weeks, though I don't think that head coach Aaron Glenn is quite ready to go there based on his press conference the other day. Meanwhile, Ramondre Stevenson, Kayshon Boutte, Austin Hooper, three key contributors for the Patriots, will not play, but they'll get 10 days after this to rest and recover. Judy, you are up there in Foxborough. Set the scene for a game that some folks don't think is going to be overly competitive.
You know, this is still such a great rivalry game. As a matter of fact, the Patriots are wearing rivalry uniforms tonight, which are really sweet looking, I got to tell you. But there's just not as much heat surrounding this game as there used to be when Bill Belichick was here and really hated the New York Jets organization. That's sort of gone. Mike Vrabel and Aaron Glenn were both complimenting the other's teams this week. But look, the Patriots are where the Jets hope to be, and the Jets would love to get there as quickly as the Patriots have. Patriots are 8-2, tied for the best record in the NFL on a 7-game winning streak. They've already doubled their win total from last season, and they have the easiest strength of schedule going forward. Right now, they are only set to face one team with a winning record. That's the Buffalo Bills, who they already squashed once this season. They do have the Ravens on the schedule. Obviously, the Patriots are way ahead of where most of us thought they would be in their rebuild, and that is because of quarterback Drake May. We will talk about him later. But again, the Jets would love to be where the Patriots are, and with their fingers crossed and all of those first-round draft picks, they hope it'll come just as fast as it has in Foxborough.
Yeah, Judy, a lot of teams would like to be where the Patriots are. They are surging. They got a good infrastructure, got a good head coach, and they got a guy at quarterback. Meanwhile, the New York Jets are still searching for a couple of those things. The infrastructure, yes, trying to build up their team. Certainly at quarterback, it seems Justin Fields set to start tonight for the New York Jets. Tyrod Taylor, though, the backup quarterback. And there's going to be a lot of discussion tonight, certainly about the Jets, their search for a future franchise quarterback, why they traded Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams to get all the picks to try to position themselves to get a quarterback, and all that is true. They still need one. they still need a starting quarterback for this season. Certainly it is possible that if Tyrod Taylor remains, obviously he's ready. If Justin Fields goes out and really struggles, we could see Tyrod tonight. I mean, it certainly seemed like there were times, Mike, when Aaron Glenn was wavering back and forth at quarterback. There was a report that it was going to be Tyrod at one point, and then Fields ended up playing because Tyrod had an injury. Keep your eyes on the quarterback situation tonight for the Jets, especially if it's a struggle for Fields early.
I will do just that. Meanwhile, I'm looking at Travion Henderson coming off his big game the other day against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 147 yards, I believe. This is a guy who early in the season, people were saying, give him the football more. Despite the fact that Ramondre Stevenson was a veteran, they had a few veterans in that backfield. Like, give him more run. Michael F. Florio being one of them. I'm going to talk to him about Henderson later in the program. Now finally getting a chance to do that. And how many rookie rushers are going to go for 1,000 yards this year? Quinshon Judkins got a shot. Ashton Genty got a shot. Travion Henderson got a shot. Bill Krosky-Merritt got a shot. We could see a bunch of them this year. And now after that big game that he had the other day, certainly opens the door for that. So we shall see if that hot streak continues now with Stevenson ruled out with a toe injury. Thank you, Judy. We'll have more from you in Foxborough. Meanwhile, our guy Cameron Wolf is over there in Madrid as the Commanders and Dolphins. We've seen some teams come in later in the week with these European games. Both of these teams got there early in the week to get settled in Madrid. The first time the city will be hosting an NFL regular season game. Here is our guy, Cam Wolf from Madrid.
We're taking the Wolf of Wall Street International. We're in Madrid. And so let's start with the two teams here. First, Miami. Jalen Waddle is emerging as a true number one wide receiver. I talked with him in the locker room after their win over the Bills. He said people were talking crazy about me early in the week, talking about the trade deadline. He is here in Miami to stay, and they want to build around him. He's had an emergence on the field, production, true number one receiver. And Tua Tagovailoa talked about his leadership. He's naturally a quiet guy. He stepped into that vocal leadership role vacated by Tyreek Hill's injury. Now let's go to Washington, where Dan Quinn, their head coach, has taken over defensive play calling duties. Look, it's a big change for a team that's been decimated with injuries and certainly struggled on defense. I talked with him this week. He said, my focus is tell these guys, don't panic because the results aren't there. He's usually in the defensive meeting rooms, but wants to spend a little bit extra time there thinking that he can get these guys to lock in and focus and finish the season in a better way than they've started.
Thank you very much, our guy, the Wolf of Ball Street, getting us ready for Sunday, the final international game. The final early Sunday morning, and even earlier if you're on the West Coast, but these teams are East Coast teams, so 9:30 a.m. for the fans in those markets. Your last chance to get some Sunday morning football before the kids have free reign to bug you every single Sunday morning.
Hi, kiddo. Give me a kiss.
Can I try on?
Give me a kiss. No, baby. Turbo set.
Snap Stafford, sets his feet, clicks for his progression, wings one, end zone, caught!
Don't look at me! Don't look at me! A lot of ball left. Ball out. Ball. Yeah. Tampa safety double slice. I think it's like a stutter shoot 'em. It felt like a mega shove. I was going for a checkmate, but I'm with you. But that corner goes here and that safety goes there. I'll go there and you just
Over the shoulder catch 40, Tutu down the left sideline with a vapor trail behind him. Touchdown LA!
yeah! And then we'll fall. Let's go.
All right, I'm still laughing because I had no idea that Wired was going to open with Stafford's kids after I just said the little Rugrats bug you on Sunday mornings. I'm sure the Stafford kids are wonderful. Anyway, Rams, Seahawks, NFC West. The battle for supremacy there, and maybe in the end, the battle for supremacy in the NFC, because these teams are playing unbelievable football. And when teams play unbelievable football, we look for unbelievable analysis from our guy, Brian Baldinger. Baldy, give us the XO breakdown on this Rams offense, which is really humming right now.
It's really evolved, Mike, over the season. And some of it had to do with injuries to Nakua and whatnot. But really, they've evolved into a premier team of 13 personnel, one back, 3 tight ends. In fact, they actually dressed all 4 tight ends, and all 4 tight ends have caught touchdowns. But this is what I'm talking about. Here's Parkinson, Allen, and Higbee here, and you look at Parkinson right here, the double team with Lamar Jackson, Davis Allen, and Higbee, and what it does is opens up an easy touchdown for Kyron Williams from the 2-yard line. But you watch Davis Allen right here and how they use their tight ends. Here he's the lead back for Kyron Williams. Right up here on our good friend Mike Taylor Bethune, right? He goes and he sticks Bethune, and that's a good block. Good lead block on the linebacker right there. And then something you don't see, a bunch formation of tight ends, Higbee, Parkinson, and Allen. And here Parkinson's going to seal the edge, which isn't easy, so Stafford can get out and buy time and wait for Allen to pop open right here. His third touchdown catch of the season. I mentioned they play 4 tight ends. Here comes, you watch Davis Allen right here in motion, but they're going to drag Parkinson right here, and the 49ers and actually run into each other in man coverage here, and Parkinson pops free, and he scores his first touchdown of the season. All 4 tight ends, like I said, 7 total touchdowns. And then you can't forget about the rookie Ferguson right here, their second-round pick, because he just turns this linebacker from San Francisco completely around. And this was in a close game, Mike. It was 28-20. San Francisco had really tightened the score up in this game, and that play led to a touchdown, an explosive play to Parkinson of 36 yards. It's a big difference in the game. And so when you look at this Rams team, they play all these tight ends in the run game, in the pass game to protect Stafford. There's a lot of reasons why Sean McVay has gone to this package, and it's very difficult to defend. It's something that Seattle is aware of and something they're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, it's difficult to defend. It's difficult to match up with. I mean, the minute that they send that personnel in, what are you doing as a defense? How do you want to play it? Matchups with linebackers in the passing game, matchups with D-backs in the running game. Like, it just creates all kinds of headaches. So great job breaking that down. As always, Baldy, don't go far. You're with us later in the program as well. As is our guy, Michael F. Florio. He's coming up in a little bit to tell you who to start and who to sit in fantasy football. He is right 100% of the time, even when he is not correct. So stay with us for that. And coming up, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen. These two have had a little fun jabbing each other. When it comes down to Sunday, it's going to be all business between these two. One of our key matchups, our marquee matchups in the NFL. That's up next on The Insiders.
Welcome back to The Insiders. New right now, according to Mike Garafolo's post. J.J. McCarthy, a full go today for the Vikings in practice. That is obviously a very good sign as the Vikings get ready for the Chicago Bears this weekend. And as for the Bears, how are they feeling about it? The grind never stops. Certainly true for the Bears and the rest of the NFL, especially at this time of the year. Let's hear from Ben Johnson on this very big division game for the Bears.
You know, we're 0-2 in the division. They're 2-0 in the division right now, and we're going up to their place, which is a very hostile environment. It'll be loud, and we got to be able to handle those elements. We found out a lot about ourselves over the course of the season so far. We're a different team than we were week 1, and so is Minnesota.
I'm not gonna say it prompts me to dial in more. You just understand that you have to be as close to perfect as you can be, and so practice and the small details all matter. Protecting the football, the routes and the depth and the spacing and my timing and everything matters. And so just trying to emphasize that this week, and trying to get our first victory in division.
Absolutely, and now it is time for our marquee matchups, and so it is time for Mark Ross. We're going to try to do this over the sound check, Mark, so give me your first big marquee matchup of the weekend.
Yeah, Judy, I have to have my own theme music like you have your theme music. So the first one is that big Buffalo, Tampa Bay game with Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield with the 18 draft where Baker was the first pick and Buffalo traded up to get Josh Allen. But really for Buffalo, which Buffalo team is going to show up? The one that crushed Kansas City and dominated that game, or the one that looked totally unprepared last week in that loss to the Miami Dolphins? So we're going to see, Josh Allen usually doesn't play a couple bad games in a row, and Sean McDermott, since he's been there, has always had that team prepared. And then on the Bucs side, they really have to win this game. They're in the middle of a 3-game stretch where they lost last week to New England. Now they've got to play at Buffalo. Then next week, they got to play at the Rams, Judy. So this is crucially important for Tampa Bay to come out here with a victory and for Buffalo to say, hey, we got some consistency here. We're back to looking like the best team in the AFC.
Well, these Patriots that we're going to watch tonight beat both of those teams only a few weeks ago. All right, what's your second marquee matchup?
Second one is that big AFC West with the division leading Denver Broncos and the third place Chiefs. I'm in the role reversal here, but this has got to be, Bo Nix. Like, is Bo Nix finally going to start a game fast? Is he going to play well and not wait till the fourth quarter? Has really looked his worst game last week. Denver with the 4 fourth quarter comebacks. And for Denver, they're in the lead now, but to be the man, you have to beat the man. And Patrick Mahomes is 13-1 against the Denver Broncos in his career. And not only that, Andy Reid, Kansas City coming off the bye. Andy Reid is 22-4 coming off the bye. So you have a huge monumental disadvantage with saying, hey, Andy Reid knows exactly what he's doing coming out. So Denver's going to have to bring their A game there, Judy.
And finally, you have a gigantic NFC matchup.
I mean, this is huge with Detroit going into the link, coming here to Philadelphia. And, of course, last season the Eagles won the Super Bowl. But the Lions were chirping all season talking about we're the best team. Even when the Eagles won, if we were healthy, we would have beat the Eagles. So we'll see on Sunday night. But I think the main thing is the drama that both teams. Last week it was the Lions with Dan Campbell taking over the play calling duties. Of course, in Philly this week, the A.J. Brown saga that we've been hearing about. So that's all going to be behind once they strap it up. And really, to me, the key to the game is this Eagles offense will have to be able to keep up with that Lions offense as well, because I don't think the Eagles defense can shut them down. And then also, which one of the running backs will have a monster game with Jahmyr Gibbs versus Saquon Barkley? That really could decide the game, Judy.
Mark, thank you. Don't go far because you'll be back with more marquee matchups later on in the show. Ian.
Kind of a fun one on a Sunday. Look at those old school Giants uniforms. A lot of old school feel to this one. The Green Bay Packers need to get back to old school because they need to start scoring some points. Rough one for them last week. Rough one for the Giants. We got a new coach. We got a new quarterback. We got a lot to get into. But first, let's listen to Matt LaFleur tell us all about it this week in Green Bay.
There's a lot of football in front of us. The bottom line is we got to find a way to win a game. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to do that the last 2 weeks. And so that's always the struggle is, you just got to find a way to get one. And you can't, but you can never take it for granted either. You got to put the work in. You got to focus on the day-to-day and try to improve. And ultimately, that's really what every team's goal is throughout the course of the season is you want to make sure you're consistently getting better and you don't want to go the other way. But so we've got a lot of work, obviously, that we have to do in order to get the ball rolling the other way.
We know the Packers are capable, Brian Baldinger, as we bring you back in. We have seen it. We have seen this offense be explosive, but recently it has been struggle city for the Green Bay Packers. That said, they got the Giants coming in, who just fired their coach, have a lot of talent on defense, but have not played very well on defense. In your mind, what do the Packers need to do to make this a get-right game this Sunday?
Well, maybe it's better that they get on the road. They've just lost 2 in a row at home where they've scored 2 touchdowns and losses to Carolina and Philadelphia. That's not going to be enough. And so, they're playing without their best offensive player, Tucker Kraft. He's not coming back. Probably without their center, Elton Jenkins. So they're just going to shuffle the deck there. But I think the big thing, Ian, honestly, is the defense. Like, they are not taking the ball away the way they did a year ago. When Jeff Heffley came in last year, he said, we're going to take the ball away. In fact, they were second in the league with 31 takeaways. They've got 6 this year. And if the Packers are going to turn it around and start scoring more points, I believe the defense has to step up. And so you look at their leaders, like Micah Parsons has always had forced fumbles in every one of his seasons. He doesn't have any this year. Xavier McKinney led the league in interceptions last year. He's got 2. Like, it's time maybe for their star players to start doing a little bit more to help the offense out. And I think, you're going up against Jameis Winston. Jameis, he's had his troubles with turnovers. He had 12 interceptions last year, 5 fumbles, and reserve duty. Like, if I'm Matt LaFleur and I'm Jeff Heffley, I'm letting these people know on defense, we got to help our offense out. Let's ignite the offense with what we can do on defense. And I think if they can do that, I think they can get back on the winning ways.
You went a very different direction from where I thought you were going to go. Equally fascinating, though, and you're right. I would say this. If I know anything about Jameis, it's 2 things. 1, he's a big fan of Hamilton, as am I. 2, probably going to give the other team an opportunity to catch the ball. They just got to actually catch it. Great stuff, Baldy. Don't go anywhere. You're hanging out with us again in a couple minutes, but just take a break, get some water, maybe some oranges. It's more like a halftime for you. We're going to see halftime tonight. How many points will the Patriots score before halftime? If this guy has anything to do with it, it's probably going to be a lot. Drake May, one of the rising young stars in the NFL. More on him coming up from our good friend Judy in a minute.
From the first snap to the last one, play with confidence, and let's beat on each other. May takes the shot and snaps back to throw. He loads up. What throw? Handoff, Brees Hall makes a man miss. Inside the 5. Gets to the pylon. Touchdown. A sprint for touchdown. Patriots. McDonald. Another one. Yeah. He got there for the sack. And mentally focused. Guaranteed I shoot my shot. It'll go in. On Brees Hall. That's a Jet touchdown. We on the way. You better wake up. Throws it to the end zone for Diggs. Touchdown. Patriots. Get ready. We bringing the squad in.
The Jets are bringing the squad into Foxborough. Well, minus Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson placed on injury reserve, which Aaron Glenn pushed back on a couple of days ago, and Rich Cimini of ESPN reported that he'd be out like 3 to 4 weeks. Turns out he's going to be out a minimum of 4 games, Judy Batista. So the Jets taking the field tonight against the Patriots. And Drake May, the progression between year 1 and year 2 for Drake May. There's been some added personnel, particularly in the offensive line. That certainly has helped. Josh McDaniels as well. And May coming along himself as well. How stoked are the folks up in Foxborough that they found their new franchise quarterback?
Really, really excited. First of all, his development is one of the biggest stories in the entire NFL, not just here in Foxborough. He's completing almost 72% of his passes, 19 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. But I think what is so noteworthy, I don't know how much we're going to see it tonight because Kayshon Boutte is out, but is his skill at the deep pass. This is an element of the offense in New England we frankly haven't seen a whole lot of since Tom Brady left town. He's completing 57% of his passes that go at least 20 yards in the air. That's second in the league behind only Sam Darnold. His average on that last year was only 33%, so that is a huge jump in effectiveness there. They are in the top 10 in passing yards. They are in the bottom 5 in pass attempts. So that tells you how much yardage he is getting on each of those completed passes. That is an element of his game that has really sparked this offense. It's brought the explosion back to the offense. It's something to keep an eye on. Again, maybe not so much tonight. They may not need it tonight. And frankly, it's windy. The elements may play a role in that. But certainly going forward and going into the playoffs, keep an eye on that deep pass from Drake May.
Quickly, before they turn the music back up, I'll ask you about Mike Vrabel, how great he's doing.
He's been awesome, as they expected him to be. Really, his fingerprints are all over this organization. Most especially, I think, it's been a massive roster overhaul. Frankly, that overhaul started before Vrabel even got here. It started last year, but it really accelerated this offseason. The roster is almost unrecognizable from what it was when Bill Belichick is here. Last week against the Bucs, they beat the Bucs. 17 of the 22 starters on offense and defense were players that arrived after Bill Belichick left here in January 2024. Obviously, Vrabel has had to pull that all together. He has done a masterful job at that. You can see them playing well, and frankly, you can see them growing each week, adding elements of the game, getting better and better. They're on a 7-game win streak. They already have the best record in the NFL right now, and as we mentioned before, the easiest strength of schedule going forward, so they are positioned for a very good situation going into December and the playoffs.
Mike Vrabel was high on the Jets list as they were looking for a head coach last offseason, but we knew who was probably number 1 on Vrabel's list. That is the Patriots, whom he is now coaching. Hang in there, Judy. Got you coming back in a couple of segments. Ian.
That's a big AFC match. This is a big AFC matchup. We got Jaguars, Chargers. I'm sorry, I can't help it. There's no way I can look at this matchup and not think about the playoffs a couple years ago. One of the most incredible games of all time. I know players are going to put it away from their mind. Not everyone was playing in it. I'm just saying that's what comes to mind. For me, it's going to happen on Sunday. Anyway, listen to Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert tell us why this one is more important.
Yeah, it's a crazy game. I think just, obviously good memories with that, for us and our team. Obviously a lot of guys aren't here anymore, and the teams have changed a lot. So not really much in our minds about that game going into this one. Just totally different year, different set of circumstances, but obviously great memories from that game.
Yeah, we've had plenty of opportunities to talk about that game. I think that's 2 or 3 years out of the past, and we've moved on since then, and we've all learned from it, so we're moving forward.
Then I'm moving forward. Fine. I'm moving forward too. I'm sorry. I just can't help it. Anyway, Brian Baldinger, Mark Ross, thank you very much for hanging out with us. Mark, what I want to get to here is more marquee matchups within the marquee matchups. So why don't you start us out with Rams Seahawks, and we'll go from there.
Well, the first one for me is those Seahawks DBs versus the Rams receivers. And you may not know, Reek Woolen and Josh Jobe have the first and second in the league and lowest completion percentage against them in man coverage, going against, of course, Devontae Adams, who leads the league in touchdowns, just ageless right there, and then Puka Nacua, who's second in yards per game and first in catch percentage when the ball is thrown this way. So that's going to be really a fascinating matchup. And that's not even bringing Devin Witherspoon into the mix, who was injured and just has come back the last game. So now the Seahawks got 3 guys, Baldy, to throw at those 2. It'll be fascinating to see how they get matched up. Mike McDonald matches those guys up.
Mark, it's an analyst dream, this game. But I'd like to flip it. I'd like to say the Rams secondary here. You're looking, right there at Emmanuel Forbes with an important interception last week. Kobe Durant, and the guys in the second, Cam Curl, going up against Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Rashid Shaheed, who already in one game you can see the effect he has and the speed that he has in an offense he's very familiar with Clint Kubiak. So I'm curious to see how the Rams secondary holds up on the outside against maybe the most feared receiver in this league right now in Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Great stuff. I want to go back to Mark on this one. Give me more marquee matchup inside a marquee matchup. Why don't you start with Steelers-Bengals?
Well, we can't get through a show without talking about Aaron Rodgers, right? So let's go Aaron Rodgers versus Father Time. And, of course, Father Time has been creeping up on him the last few years, and this Steelers offense kind of very limited throughout the year with the short passing game. And then last week, it was absolutely abysmal. I mean, it looked like, hey, just put him on the sideline, give him a clipboard and let him coach. But he's got the worst defense in the league to go against that Cincinnati defense, who's 32nd and plays worse than that, who just can't stop anybody. So this week, if Aaron Rodgers struggles once again against that abysmal defense, Baldy, Father Time may be saying, hey, man, come on out the door with me right now.
Yeah. Mark, there's another really key AFC West matchup, obviously, with Kansas City going into Denver. And, this Bronco pass rush that leads the league with 46 sacks. I think it's a big concern for Kansas City right now and how they're going to protect Patrick Mahomes, because if you can affect Patrick Mahomes, Denver can take a real stranglehold on this AFC West division. I'm sure that Mahomes and Andy Reid will be at their best, but they've got a bunch of dogs up front with Nick Benito, Jonathan Cooper, Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers, et cetera, et cetera. I think this is a key matchup in this AFC West matchup.
All right, we got one more for each of you. We'll go now to the AFC North. Mark, I want to go back to you. Give me a marquee matchup inside the marquee matchup of Ravens-Browns for Sunday.
Well, last one for me, the Baltimore defense versus their resurgence over the last 4 games and whether they can keep this going against the Browns. Last 4 games, the Ravens defense only giving up 14.5 points a game. A lot of that have to do with, I'm sure we'll see him in the screen at some point, Kyle Hamilton moving around, causing havoc in his new position. And they're going against the Cleveland Browns and Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel in his 5 starts, they've only averaged 18 points per game. In their lone win They scored 31 against Miami. If you take that out, they're only averaging 14.7. So last four for the Ravens, 14.5. Dylan Gabriel, 14.7. It looks like it might be another game of resurgence for that Ravens defense, Baldy.
Mark, this NFC North matchup between the Bears visiting the Vikings, I'm anxious to see how the Vikings handle the running game right now of the Bears. 2 weeks in a row now against Cincinnati and the Giants. They run 65 times for 450 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like whether it's DeAndre Swift or Kyle Monangai, or if it's Caleb Williams on scrambles or design runs, I think they're excellent right now in how they're using the run, how they're setting the run up for some deep passing shots. I think it's going to be a key matchup in this NFC North matchup. Can the Vikings contain this Bears rushing attack right now? They have struggled in some games this year trying to do that.
A lot of fun ones for Sunday, and starts with Thursday, and then after that there's Monday. A lot of good stuff going on. Guys, thank you very much. Great stuff as always. I feel much smarter for having listened to this, and now we don't need you anymore, so go on vacation. Perfect. We do need our guy Florio, though. We need him big time. My fantasy team is an absolute mess. I need help. Week 11 starts and sits. Coming up with our good friend right after this.
Time to go inside with NFL Fantasy Live with our guy, Michael F. Florio. It's Thursday. That means who's starting, who's sitting, not just for tonight, but the entire weekend in the NFL. We start with the starts on Thursday Night Football, and boy, do I know who one of them is.
Yes, you do. And shout out to you for giving me a shout out on GMFB today for this player. It is Travion Henderson, who I have in my starting lineups. And Mike, I know you do as well. And everyone watching should. Last week, you all remember what happened, 150 yards. He averaged 10 yards per carry on inside and outside carries, the only running back in the NFL to do so. But the game before that, 13 fantasy points without Stevenson. So the floor seems safe, but game script should be on his side today, and the more opportunities he gets, the more home runs he can hit. He is a big player. He hit 2 last week. There was almost 2 other plays that he could have took the distance if things went his way. So yeah, he is very much so in play today. And then Breece Hall, and I know normally this is a given, but the Patriots are the toughest run defense in the NFL this year. Breece Hall did face another one of the toughest matchups last week against the Browns, and we saw him go off against them. The one weakness the Patriots have with running backs is in the passing game. They've allowed the 6th most receiving yards. We know Hall is often used as a receiver. I think he could get even more volume with no Garrett Wilson. He's now on IR. So, yeah, keep feeding Breece Hall. I think he is in play despite the matchup tonight.
All right, well, that was truly a love fest. Vomit. Let's get to some more negative stuff, which is really more of my wheelhouse. Who are we sitting for tonight's TNF game, Florio?
Look, you guys know I love Justin Fields. I come on this show for like 8 months now and talked up Justin Fields, but I think this is a night to get away from him. The Patriots, again, are the best run defense or top 2 in the NFL. And that goes to quarterbacks as well. They've allowed the 5th fewest rushing yards to quarterbacks and just 1 touchdown. No Garrett Wilson. We know Fields brings a high ceiling, but the floor's been very low. And if you can't count on the rushing numbers, then it is time to get away. And that is what I am expecting tonight against the Patriots. And then I think both tight ends are sits this week. Hunter Henry has scored single-digit fantasy points in 6 straight games. The floor and ceiling is just entirely too low to trust. If I have to pick one, I would rather use Mason Taylor, as he could see volume and the Patriots have struggled at times against tight ends. The issue is the Jets' passing attack has been pretty rough at times, and the Patriots can get after the quarterback. That is a clear weakness for the Jets, so the floor for Taylor is non-existent. There's a lot of streaming tight ends that I would rather use, but we might be talking about those a little bit later.
The Dolphins wanted a first-round pick and then some at the trade deadline for Jalen Waddle. They think that highly of him. He is still a Dolphin, goes 5 for 84. Now he's going up against a Commanders defense in Madrid that lost Trey Amos, the quarterback. Dan Quinn takes over play calling. This has got to be a start.
Yeah, I'm a Bills fan, and I was like, give up the first-round pick to get him. So he's doing what he did last week for the Bills, not against them. But, yeah, he has just been awesome. 16 fantasy points per game since Tyreek Hill went down. And he is just 1 fewer than 14 in that span. And what I love, they're starting to use him more and more downfield. 22 air yards per target last week. That was the most any Dolphins players had in a game since 2017. And then the Commanders, most yards, third most fantasy points per game to wide receivers. You're going to be waking up early watching this game from Madrid on NFL Network anyway. Why not get you some fantasy players into it while you're watching?
I do like starting players in standalone games so you can really focus in on your team. All right, let's focus in again. On the receiver position, DJ Moore, a little banged up. Told reporters a couple minutes ago he believes he'll be out there Sunday. But what say you about being out there for my fantasy team?
I don't love him. And I really believe in DJ Moore, the player, but I just don't love the way he's being used this season. Last week, 4 targets, 0 fantasy points before he left that game late. 5 targets per game this season. And by far a career low in air yards per target. So you can't really rely on him racking up catches for PPR points. If he's not getting a lot of air yards, you can't rely on big plays. And he's not their go-to guy in the red and end zone. That's Roma Dunze. So there's not a lot of avenues for him to find fantasy success unless he's running and throwing for a touchdown. But obviously you can't bank on that.
Yep, one of the draft picks I regret this year. I'm going to get to another one in just a short little bit here. I think you know who that is. This guy's on my roster, Bo Nix. Now, I'm interested in this one because I got Bo in my starting lineup. I got Sam Darnold on the bench, and I got Jacoby Brissett staring at me on the waiver wire. So this might help me make a decision here on Bo Nix.
Yeah, I would sit Bo Nix this week, Mike. In fact, I have Jacoby Brissett as a start. I'd play him. But Bo Nix, look, we all watched last TNF, right, against the Raiders. It was not a fun watch. And Nix, when you look at his game log, you realize he's gone off in the very best matchups for quarterbacks. But in every other game, it's been a little pedestrian or it's taken a huge fourth quarter to salvage his day. The Chiefs are in the bottom 5 in pass and touchdowns allowed. And on top of that, Spags has had 2 weeks to get ready for this game coming off of a loss. That scares me a lot when it comes to Bo Nix and the Broncos this week.
All right, so you mentioned you're a Bills fan. Let's do a little Bills talk here. I want to focus in on the tight end position before we really get into it in a second, probably the more important segment here. We know Dalton Kincaid is not going to play, dealing with a hamstring injury. What about starting Dawson Knox in Buffalo?
Yeah, I wrote him up as a start this week because, one, we know he has chemistry with Josh Allen. He was the starter before they drafted Kincaid. He really trusts him, especially in the red and in the end zone, despite the pick last week. Plus, the Bills feature the tight end a lot in the passing game because they are not getting consistent production out of their wide receivers. So because of all of that, in what could be a high-scoring game, I think Knox has a good chance of scoring a touchdown and perhaps even exceeding that yardage-wise, having a good game. So I think Knox is a sneaky streaming option this week.
So we did Nix and Knox, Fox and Sox, box on Knox. That book. Every time my kid picks that book, I'm like, no, not tonight. Please, not tonight. I had a long day.
Book.
All right. I've had a long season with A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's had a long season with Jalen Hurts. A.J. Brown recommended on his Twitch the other night that if you've got me in fantasy football, which I do, yeah, and then this was my reaction. He said, drop me, get rid of me. Now, the emergency personnel meeting with my assistant GM, Michael Florio, because I've got A.J. Brown. Look, I'm not dropping him. Like, that's silly. Yeah. I understand he was, exaggerating for effect. But do I bench him?
I wouldn't. You know how I am. I refuse to quit on Travion. A.J. Brown is one of my guys. I believe in my guys. But even more, the Lions, if this has a chance to be a game where the Eagles are chasing points, they have to throw the ball. Plus, in the 2 games before this last one that A.J. Brown played, he had 14 and 28 fantasy points. And then, Mike, to make you feel better moving forward, they have one of the best wide receiver schedules the rest of the way. So I'm just riding with till the wheels fall off when it comes to A.J. Brown.
They might be close.
Let's talk about the tight end. Yeah, you've had your time. Let's talk about my fantasy team, which is much more important. I've had tight end issues really the whole season. Isaiah Likely was my keeper. That did not go well. Darren Waller was lightning in a bottle. Then he went on IR. Theo Johnson last week. I need to stream a tight end. Can you help me figure out who to choose?
Yeah, there's a lot of streaming options this week at tight end. I think Dalton Schultz, who is shown to have a safe floor and is getting more used with Davis Mills at least, he's in play. I spoke up Dawson Knox. Cade Otton, who had 12 targets last week. I know the Bills are a tough tight end matchup, but I still think volume wins the day there. Noah Fant and Pat Freiermuth, because that could be a really high-scoring game. Those are a little bit deeper, though, but Schultz, Otton, Knox would be my top options, and if they're already rostered, then Fant and Freiermuth, because there's just going to be a lot of points scored in that game.
NFL.com/start-sit. Start-sit, singular, not plural. Sometimes I do the plural. It just takes me. I think it gets you there anyway, because everybody wants to go find out what Florio has to say. Thank you very much, Michael F. Florio. And if you're interested in what he has to say every week and what we have to say as the insiders, here's where to find us. Today is Thursday, so we are on NFL Plus and the NFL channel on YouTube. Tomorrow, back on the network. NFL Plus will get you most of the programming all week long. So sign up for NFL Plus. Terms and conditions apply. I know, because I say that every single time I read that read. Coming back with more insiders. Here are your primetime games, beginning with tonight, Thursday Night Football, Jets-Patriots. Sunday Night Football, that's a big one. Eagles hosting the Lions. That could be huge for NFC playoff positioning. And then there's Monday Night Football, the Cowboys' first game since the loss of Marshawn Nealand. It has certainly been an emotional week there at the Star as they get ready for the game against the Las Vegas Raiders. So you've got the business end of things. You've also had the healing that continues to go on. So Jane Slater, we throw it to you down there at the Star. Help us navigate through this. I mean, the Cowboys themselves are trying to figure out how to navigate through this.
And the hard part about that navigation and reconciliation is the fact that there were no signs at all. And that's what makes Marshawn Nealand's death so hard for this team, Mike. According to his teammate, friend, and a guy he would go on double dates with, his wide receiver, Ryan Flournoy, he said the shocking part for him is the fact that he was so high on life. He scored that touchdown on Monday Night Football, and then a few days later, he was gone. According to Solomon Thomas, who has, unfortunately, some experience with death by suicide, he said the big thing that's been helping around here is their mental health coach.
We were basically in the position room with a therapist with Dr. T for about 2 hours, and guys were crying, guys were pouring their feelings and emotions out, guys were being extremely vulnerable, and it's just so telling of what who Marshawn was and what he meant to this team, and he will forever be missed and will forever hold his name and spirit held high.
What's been the hardest part for you personally, Solomon, about all of this?
For me personally, a loss of a brother, a loss of someone who gave me the honor and respect of him looking up to me as a veteran. But even past that, I have a history with mental health and in my family, and a lot of triggering emotions for myself. And not to make that more important than the pain that anyone else is feeling right now. It's just been a really hard week, for the emotions I've been feeling, but also, I like I said, I can't imagine the emotions that his family and Catalina are feeling. It's a tragic death. It's a death of a 24-year-old young man who had so much life to live. And my hearts just break for everyone, and my prayers go out to everyone. And the only way I know how to get out of it, to move forward from a tragic situation like this, is to live for that person, take the amazing qualities that you learned from them, take the smiles and memories that you gave from them, and apply them to your life every day, and live for that person, talk to their spirit, hold their spirit with you every day. The only way I truly believe you can let someone die is not living with their spirit, not saying their name, not talking to them, not loving them, not feeling the grief. Because, grief is pain, but grief is also love. And you feel that hurt, you feel that guilt, you feel that shame, you feel the sadness and depression because you had so much love for that person. So that's really been the pain for me the last week.
Locker room closed, a lot of tears, as you can imagine, meetings. Dr. Heather Twiddell, she's their mental health coach. She spent a lot of time with these players in the last couple of days. I did want to, instead of focusing on the loss, focus on some of the good memories. Talking to Solomon Thomas, I said, what was your singular first memory of Marshawn Nealand? And he described it as he was running 18-mile-per-hour wind sprints, laughing, smiling. He always wanted Solly's approval, joking that they should get matching tattoos and raise their children together. I should point out that Nealand does have a child on the way. His girlfriend, Catalina, pregnant, just 7 weeks along. And as this team tries to move forward, they say they're not moving on, they're moving forward. And Dak Prescott even brought up the fact that their head coach, Brian Schottenheimer, told him ahead of practice, this one's going to be hard for some of you, therapeutic for others. For Dak, it was therapy, being around some of his family, his friends in this building, the good weather, the good vibes. This group is going to be ready to play on Monday, and they'll certainly be thinking of Nealon and have a decal in his honor throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, decal and the helmet. T-shirts expected to be worn pregame as well to honor him. Powerful words from Solomon Thomas. Give him the credit for not running from it. He's been a mental health advocate, so he is using this as a chance once again to speak on that platform. Good for him. We wish him all the healing. Wish everybody who Marshawn Nealon's life touched the healing as well. Jane, thank you as always for your perspective and your reporting on a tough one that's going to be something we're going to continue to talk about certainly for the rest of the season. More insiders coming up after this. Cool one here. Thanksgiving just a few weeks away. The Detroit Lions saying Eminem and his manager, Paul Rosenberg, are going to serve as executive producer of the Detroit Lions Thanksgiving halftime show powered by Verizon this year and for a few years to come. Let's go to our resident hip-hop expert, Ian Rappaport, on this one.
Welcome to I have a great idea, and no one consulted me on this. I mean, they should, but no one consulted me on this. Here's my idea. Eminem should name himself. And I know Jay-Z does this sort of for the NFL, and he has a name, but Eminem should name himself. Who says no when the first Thanksgiving, Judy, it's the halftime show, and it's like, Eminem presents Eminem. It's a great choice.
There you go. Judy.
They should have had Eminem when it was the Detroit Super Bowl. It was the Rolling Stones that year. It was not Eminem. They should have had Eminem then. It should be Eminem every Thanksgiving, by the way. Just do it.
He had a piece of the Super Bowl halftime show a couple of years ago. Let's see what he does when it comes to Thanksgiving. Judy, stay warm out there, Judy. Thursday Night Football, not too far away.